Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to start with a little chant. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness into light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. So this class, I'm calling it Ancient Wisdom for Modern Seekers, or Ancient Wisdom for Modern Life. And this class originally started in Camarillo as part of the Center for Spiritual Living in Pleasant Valley once a month class. And we kind of had to pause because of the quarantine situation. And now we're picking it up again, and I'm opening it up to as many people as want to come. So if you enjoy it, tell everybody else, because we'll be doing it again in another month. And if you really, really enjoy it, we could try doing it once a week. But I think once a month is good for now with everybody's obligations. Hard to commit to more than that, right? Okay, so where we left off in the former classes, we had studied the Bhagavad Gita, we'd studied the Katha Upanishad, and then we just started with the Drisha Viveka, this book, which is Inquiry into the Seer and the Seen. And this is one of the very famous books as a study on Advaita Vedanta, the non-dual Vedanta. And it was written by Swami Nikhilananda, who's one of the monks in the Ramakrishna order. So I thought we'll just kind of summarize the book in today's class, so we don't have to go back and forth with chapter to chapter. And from now on, each class will be just a whole thing, so you don't have to have taken the previous class to take the current class. So I thought this is especially good for now, because in these times when we have struggles and stresses and we're suffering a little bit, those are the times we tend to go more towards our spirituality, go more towards religion, and ask the big questions in life. And one of those big questions is, who am I? Right? So what am I supposed to learn from this? What can I do? What is my purpose? Why is all this happening? Why is this going on all around us? I'm letting Buzz in the room right now. Yay. Buzz, welcome. So what we know is that, especially in these times when we're quarantined, time kind of has a life of its own, right? Some people say, oh, where did the time go? Time has gone so fast, and yet I can't believe all this time has gone by, and then each day seems so slow because I have to figure out what am I going to do with myself. So we're kind of in this weird time warp. But we do know that as our gray hair starts showing and our hair gets longer, that a lot of time has gone by. And here we are. And what are we supposed to do with ourselves? And that's why this religion or spirituality always has a pull to us, because we always know that there must be something more to life than just this, right? So this is why we're drawn. And then we come to understand that this pull towards religion, towards spirituality, towards answering these big questions is our purpose. This is why we are here, to question, to learn who we are. So there's a story about Krishna that I like. And it kind of illustrates where we are in life, how we have this pull towards spirituality, yet we get distracted by all the everyday things. So this very devoted man goes to Krishna and says, Krishna, what is with this Maya, with this life all around us that distracts us from you? Can you explain it to me? And he said, okay, you've been very devoted. Yes, I'll explain it to you. Come with me. And they took a walk, and then they're walking out in the sun, and they finally find the shade of a tree, and they go to sit down. And Krishna says to the man, you know, I'm kind of thirsty. Would you mind getting me a glass of water, please? And he's like, oh, of course, Krishna, of course, anything for you. So he starts wandering off, and he's looking for where there's houses. I guess they've walked pretty far. So he's finally sees a house off in the distance, and he walks towards it. And it's a long way. And on the way, he starts to get thirsty himself. And he says, okay, I think I'm going to ask for 2 glasses of water, one for me and one for Krishna. So he finally gets to the house, and he knocks on the door, and this woman opens the door. And she's the most beautiful woman he's ever seen. And immediately he's taken by her. And he's like, oh, yeah, may I have a glass of water, please? She invites him in, and they have a wonderful conversation, and time passes, and he falls in love with her, and he asks her to marry him, and they have children, and they grow a life together, and they start the family business, and the children grow up, and they have grandchildren, and they're happy as can be, everything's wonderful. And then one day, a flood comes, and it washes away the house and the business and the fields and his beautiful wife and all of their children and grandchildren. And the man is left there all alone, all by himself, wondering what happens. And finally he gets down on his knees and he says, Krishna, 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 help me. And Krishna appears to him and says, hey, where's my glass of water? And this is what happens to all of us. We get so distracted. We're here to be with Krishna or whoever we call God, spirit, universal energy. We get so distracted by the stuff of life that we forget why we're here. We forget our purpose. But then something calls us, and usually it's that something that shakes us to our core. You know, it could be an illness or a death in the family or anything, but it just shakes us to our core, and we go back to God and say, oh God, okay, I'm ready. Now I'm ready. Now I'm ready. Now I know that what was there could be gone in a moment. You know, everything in life is changing. Nothing stays the same. But something does stay the same, right? God. Maya, everything outside of us changes, but God, everything inside of us, who we really are, doesn't change. And that's what we've got to grasp onto. So the big question in life is, who am I? And Ramana Maharshi was an ancient saint, and oh my gosh, he is amazing. There's actually a beautiful documentary about him that I watched on Amazon Prime. If you can find it, because he was amazing and an amazing teacher. And the interesting thing about him is that he didn't teach by writing books or giving lectures. He taught by sitting with people and meditating with them. And just by being next to him and absorbed in that energy that he created around himself, people would get enlightened. And one time somebody came to him and said, you know, I want to study with you, Ramana, I really do, but I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm worthy. I don't know if I have enough knowledge to study with you. And he's like, did I just hear you use the word I? And he's like, well, yes. Then you're ready. You're qualified. Because the only thing you need to know is, who am I? The only thing you need to ask yourself is, who am I? That I is what we're going to be looking at. So we're all ready. And we know from the example of all these saints like Ramana Maharshi and Sri Ramakrishna that it is possible. You know, they knew God, they saw God, they told us that it is possible in this very life. And if we are bound and determined and make it our goal in this life and understand that this is our purpose in life, it can happen to us too. We can live an enlightened, beautiful, peaceful, calm, wonderful life in this life amongst all the Maya, amongst all the chaos. We can have that calm, great life because we're centered, because we know who we are and we don't let all this outside stuff bother us. So what is stopping us from knowing who we are, right? What's stopping us is not knowing. It's identifying with all the roles we play. So if, you know, someone asks us at a party, oh, hey, who are you? I might say, yeah, I'm Lisa Coffee and I run coffeetalk.com and I'm married to Greg and, you know, I have 2 boys and I have stepkids in Australia and I live in California. Those are all roles we play. They're all things we identify with, but those are not who we are. That's not who we are. There may be hats we wear, but just like you can take on and off a hat or on and off a coat, you can change those things at any moment. And we do quite often. So the goal of this life is not to become identified with those roles that we play and not let that become our identity. Because what happens if, you know, I'm the president of a company and all these people respect me because I'm the president of the company, right? But the thing is, they respect the role. They respect the title. And if you're identified with that title and then you lose the title, who are you still, right? If you're too identified with that title, do you like lose it and go crazy and think that you're worthless because you don't have that title anymore? No, you need to be solid, and knowing who you are is much more than any title, than any role that you play. Our true nature is that we are free. We don't have these boundaries and these limitations around us of the 9-to-5 job or the, you know, being the relationship, being the mother of these 2 kids. You know, when you're in it, it seems like it's the be all end all, but it's a role you're playing. It's a way to understand more of who you are through the path of love, through the path of service, you know. And I think next week we'll probably talk about that, the 4 yoga paths, which are so profound and they're great ways for us to discover our purpose and embrace our purpose. But who we are is we're not bound, we're not limited. We are directly connected to that spirit who has access to all the wisdom in the world. So here's another story that they tell in Vedanta a lot that I just love. So this guy is, his job is to do the laundry for the people in the town. He's like the laundromat guy. So he has this donkey and he loads up the donkey with all the laundry. He travels down to the river, does all the laundry, folds it and everything, and takes it back to the town. So one day he has the donkey all loaded up. They go down to the river and he goes to tie the donkey up to the tree so the donkey doesn't run away. And he realizes he forgot his rope. And he's like, oh, shoot, I don't have my rope. What am I going to do? If I leave this donkey, he's just going to wander around. And how am I going to get back? You know, I need a rope to tie up the donkey. So he's looking around everywhere, thinking, can I borrow one from somebody? Because it's way too long for him to go all the way back. So finally he sees this man sitting by the river and he says, oh, I'm just looking for a rope. Do you have anything I can borrow? He goes, no, what's the problem? He says, well, I need to tie my donkey up so that he doesn't walk away. He goes, oh, you can take care of that really easy. Just pretend you have a rope. Just go through the motions like you always do. You know, tie it around the donkey, walk around, go to the tree, tie it around the tree, make a big show of it, tie in the knot real tight. And then go do your laundry. You'll see, it'll be fine. So he did that. He went, walked around the donkey, walked around the tree using his pretend rope, tied the knot real tight, did the laundry. Donkey stood there just fine, like normal. The guy's like, wow, this is pretty good. So he did all the laundry, folded it up, put it back in the baskets, got on the donkey. Let's go. Donkey wouldn't budge. He's like, come on, let's go. The donkey would not go anywhere. He's like, hey, donkey, come on, let's go. Oh, he's getting so frustrated. This donkey won't move. So he goes back down and he's thinking, what am I supposed to do now? And just then the sage comes by and he goes, what's the problem now? He said, the donkey won't leave. And he said, well, you haven't untied him. He goes, he's not tied to the tree. He goes, but he thinks he's tied to the tree. Make a big show of it. Go untie him from that tree. It's like, okay. Does the whole thing, unties the donkey, gets back on, let's go. Donkey goes trotting away like he always does. We are the donkey. We think we are tied to the tree when we're really free. We think we need to be freed. We think we need to become enlightened. We think we need to, break out of these roles. When the truth is we're free right now, we just don't know it. We're tied with this imaginary rope to this earth, to this life, to this Maya that is like ephemeral. It's always changing. Life is always changing. Think about it in your world. We're born as this little baby. We don't even remember really a lot of when we were a little baby, but we used to fit like in the palm of our hand, right? Look at how much we've changed since then. That same person who learned to walk, who learned to speak, who went to school, who made friends, who got in fights, who got beat up, whatever it was, that same person is still us. It's still us. That same person who went through puberty, who had their first kiss, who was all awkward and nervous and had to speak in front of the class, that same person is us right now. That didn't change. But now here we are, I'm going to be 60 next year. I look at all this stuff I've done, went to my 40-year high school reunion. I'm looking at all these people. I'm like, you know what? Everybody's changed on the outside. I see that. But their energy is the same. I recognize them, even if I couldn't see them. I kind of like recognize them, that divinity within them. There's something there that doesn't change. And that's who I am. That's the answer to the question that we're looking for. Amongst all these changes over the years, all these changes in our lives, all these, people who have come and gone from our lives, our aunts and uncles and cousins and parents and kids and boyfriends and girlfriends and husbands and wives and bosses and employees and all these people that have their own lives. And we get intermingled for a little bit, like little butterflies coming around each other, and then and we're still the same. We're still here. So that's what we need to grasp onto. That's what we need to understand, is that there's something within us that doesn't change, and that is who we are. So in this book, the Drisha Viveka, which we were studying before, there's a very systematic process to getting to that place where we understand who we are. And it's all about understanding that what we tend to identify with or look at or whatever is outside of us. And that's not who we are. So the example they give is like, here's this cup, right? I am not this cup, right? I know I'm not this cup. You know you're not this cup. Anything you have around you, you know you're not this cup. How do you know you're not this cup? Because you are seeing the cup. How are you seeing the cup? You're seeing the cup with your eyes, okay? Your eyes are seeing the cup. If I close my eyes, I don't see the cup, right? So I know I'm not the cup. I don't see it. But I look, okay, I see the cup. I'm not the cup. It's separate from me. I'm not the cup. I see the cup with my eyes. You could do the same thing with any of the senses. I smell the tea. Am I the tea? No, but I can smell the tea. I understand what it is because I have the senses to smell the tea, but I am not that tea. Okay, so does that mean I am the eyes? No, I am not the eyes. If these eyes were outside of the body, if I had an eyeball from a morgue or something, could I say, here, I see the cup? No, it can't. It can't. The eye cannot operate without the mind. There's something more than the eye. Any of the senses, I couldn't smell without the mind. If I'm a dead body, I have eyes, I have a nose, I have ears, but do I hear? Do I see? Do I smell? No. There's the mind. But does that mean I'm the mind? No, I'm not the mind either. Because how do I know that? Because I know I have a mind. So what is it that knows I have a mind? The mind changes all the time. I'm looking at a cup, I'm looking at a screen, I'm looking out the window. I feel, happy that it's Sunday. I feel angry that I have to do the dishes. I feel, frustrated that I have all this work to do that hasn't been done. All these moods, emotions, feelings change all the time. I'm not the mind. What perceives the mind? That consciousness, that awareness is who I am. That. Because you can't go any further than that. What is aware of being aware, right? It's just awareness. It just is. There's no source for that awareness. It's just like in the Mandukya Upanishad, they go through the whole process of life where you have waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and then Turiya, which is the higher awareness. So when we're awake, we know we're awake, right? How do we know? Because it takes place in a time and space, because we're acting, we're speaking, we're aware of things, our eyes are open, we see things outside of us. We're awake. We know when we're dreaming, right? How do we know we're dreaming? In the dream, it's just like we're awake, right? But then we wake up and we look back and go, oh, I had a dream. Because now I'm in this waking world and I see the difference between the waking world and the dreaming world. So I know that in the dream, I was in a different place than I am now. So in dreaming world, I was dreaming. I just thought of this other story where a teacher was saying to her students, this is like a test for you. Okay, you're in a dream and a tiger is chasing you and you're running as fast as you can. And the tiger's on your heels And then you climb up a tree, and then the tiger climbs up after you. And then you go to the limb of the tree, and the tiger's staring at you, and you're staring at this tiger. What do? How do you get away from the tiger? And the first student said, oh, I would just punch that tiger in the face. And the teacher's like, okay, that's very interesting. Do you think that would work? And all the kids are going, oh, no, that's not how you get away from a tiger. And then the second student said, oh, well, I would just drop down onto the ground and start running again. And the teacher says, oh, well, do you think that would work? And the kids go, oh, no, the tiger would just keep going and chasing you. And then the third student, a little girl, said, well, I would just wake up. And the teacher said, yes, that's how you get away from the tiger. You just wake up. You're in a dream. It's not happening. You got to wake up. This is our life, right? There's the waking state. There's the dreaming state. Is the waking state any different from the dream state? How do we know that this isn't the dream, right? How do we know? There's another story. Oh gosh, I keep telling these stories, but it's like these stories are designed so that you get it in such a way that it's easier than me just saying blah, 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 right? So this husband and a wife, they had one son, and he was their world. You know, they couldn't have any other children. He was their world. And he grew up to be a very pillar of society. And, you know, they were talking about making him the Raja, the mayor of the city. And he was very learned, and he helped so many people. And he was very good to his mother and father and provided for them in their old age and everything. And one day there was a terrible accident, and he died. And the mother was just grieving for days and days. She was just grieving. And the father seemed to kind of have his act together. He wasn't grieving. He was like sad, but he wasn't like pouring his eyes out with tears like the wife was. And she got so mad at him. Like, I don't understand. This boy was our world. Why do you not feel more? Why do you not miss him? Why are you not in tears? And he said, well, wait a second. You know, last night I had this dream where I was the king, and I had 8 sons, and we ruled all the lands, and they gave me grandchildren, and everybody was happy. And then I woke up, and I don't have 8 sons. Should I grieve for those 8 sons? So his point was, which is the dream world? Which is the real world, right? We're going to be in another world after the body goes away. We'll be in another life. Is that the dream? Will we look back on it as this was a dream? Who knows what is real and what is unreal? Everything that changes is unreal. That's why in the prayer at the beginning, Asatoma Sadgamaya, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness into light. Lead us from death to immortality. Everything that is unreal is changing. But yet, that is where our focus is. That is where our attention is. Does that make sense to us? I mean, we are much happier. We have lasting happiness, blissful happiness, when we focus on the unchanging. When we focus on the real, which is spirit. When we focus on the light. When we're focusing on the changing, on the unreal, we're focusing on darkness. All we have to do is turn on the light. Darkness is the absence of light. When we focus on death, death is the changing. We're not focusing on the truth of who we are, which is our immortality. The self of us that goes on from life to life to merge with the all-encompassing God that is our true reality. So, okay, so I got off track here. Okay, so so the Vedanta practice is, how do we do this? How do we move from the unreal to the real? We have a process. We hear it. So just like we're listening in this class now, or we read it, right, in the tradition book or the Gita or any of these books. This is my Song Divine book, which is the easiest Gita in the world to use. If you want to start with the Gita, start with Song Divine. Then you reflect upon it. You think about it. You think about, how does this make sense to me? What does this mean in my life? How do I apply it to my life? You reflect upon it. And then you meditate upon it. You sit still in silence and just marinate in it. You know, thoughts come and go, but just let it be with you. And then the fourth step is you put it into practice. You know, these spiritual practices can change our behavior. They can change who we think we are, because they change the understanding of who we know we are. And our lives become more beautiful, more magical, more present, more whole, more complete. You know, we have more gratitude in our life. We just have more beauty in our life. Okay, so let's see. We know that, okay, when we're looking outside, we notice how everything changes. We talked about how the body changes. We talked about how the mind changes. Our intellect changes as well, because as we learn and grow through whatever we're learning, you know, we know that as we learn and practice, we become better. Just like if we're learning to cook, you know, it's one thing to watch a YouTube video learning to cook. It's another thing to get in the kitchen and do the measuring and stirring and put it in the oven ourselves, right? If we're learning to play the piano, we can learn from a teacher, we can learn from a book, but if we don't actually sit down at the piano and do it, can we say that we know how to play the piano? No, we have to do it. So spiritual practice is exactly the same way. We can't just say, oh, okay, I took that class, now I know it. You need to marinate in it and then practice it. So it's this whole loop of, you know, the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi used to say, when you are dyeing a cloth, you need to dip it in the dye and then set it in the sun. Dip it in the dye and then set it in the sun. And it takes this process over and over again until the dye sets. And once the dye sets, it doesn't wash out. So that's our whole process of these spiritual practices, is we are learning it and meditating on it, and practicing it and meditating on it, and learning it and meditating on it, back and back. Activity and inactivity, a balance of going until we get it. We get it. We get it. It's amazing. Okay. So let's see. So who is it that's doing this work, right? Is it us that's doing this work? Who are we anyway? It's God, Spirit, Krishna, whoever you want to name it. Any work that we do is actually God working through us. And it feels really good when we're in that groove and on that path and going towards the ideal of what we want, who we truly are, what our true nature is. And then life is beautiful. Okay, so questions. The name of the documentary, I think if you just put in Ramana Maharshi, I'll just write it in the chat so that you can see how his name is spelled. I don't know the exact name of it, but it's something with his name in it. So if you find that, then you'll find it. Does anybody else have any questions? Just put it in the chat, or just like unmute yourself and then you can ask a question.
It's wonderful to be with you. So the purpose of this work that you're focusing on, will you clarify once again what the focus is on this beautiful work?
The big question is, who am I? So if you take that one question, that's a question that we can take our whole lifetime to answer. Because we'll come up every day, we'll come up with a different answer, right? We'll say, oh, well, I'm a Zoom user, I'm a whatever, right? All those different things are going to change. But what doesn't change? What's the same? What's the constant that goes through all those different activities and different roles that we play? The work is really understanding our true nature. And the thing is, once we understand our true nature, how can we ever be unkind to anyone? How could we ever be unfair or unjust to anyone? I mean, I got to read you guys this thing in my 1 second. I'm getting it right. I see it. So this is a quote by Pablo Casals. And when I was 16, I took my first like self-help kind of course. And you know at 16 how you're kind of you feel awkward in your skin. You don't really know who you are, who you're supposed to be. You know, you see people that you admire and you try to be like them, but you know that's not you. And you want to keep up with the latest fashions and be accepted, but then you want to be unique too. And it's just a time when a lot of self-reflection and questioning comes in. And I'm sure you guys have all been through it too. Teen years can be really hard. But when I took this class and I got this quote, and I have carried this with me all this time to every house I've ever lived in my dorm room and everything, because it means so much to me. And this put me on this path. I'm going to read it to you. Each second we live is a new and unique moment of the universe, a moment that never was before and never will be again. And what do we teach our children? We teach that 2 + 2 make 4, and that Paris is the capital of France. When will we also teach them what they are? We should say to each of them, do you know what you are? You are a marvel. You are unique. In all the world, there is no other child exactly like you. In the millions of years that has passed, there has never been a child like you. And look at your body. What a wonder it is. Your legs and your arms, your cunning fingers, the way you move. You may become a Shakespeare, a Michelangelo, a Beethoven. You have the capacity for anything. Yes, you are a marvel. And when you grow up, can you then harm another who is, like you, a marvel? You must cherish one another. You must work. We must all work to make this world worthy of its children. And the thing is, here we are as adults, and we still haven't learned this lesson. We still don't know that we are a marvel. We are this expression of God in this life, that we, through every action we take, can make the world a better place. That we have the power to create and realize. And if we would just embrace that and know who we are, there are no limitations, no boundaries. and we see the happiness. All this stuff that goes on around us won't bother us. All these political games that we get caught up in won't bother us. It's not that we won't get involved, because that is a duty. Okay, that's different from our purpose in life. That is a duty to help make the world a better place, and why we're born in this time and place, which we'll talk more about next month when we talk about Dharma and everything. But, you know, you have to take action, but the difference is you don't have attachment to the action. So if it doesn't go your way, you're not devastated by it. You're just like, okay, God's will, Mother's will, whatever. We know God knows more than we do. We're okay with it. We're going to get through it. Whatever lesson there is, whatever purpose there is in this is okay. I did what I needed to do, and this is the outcome anyway. That's okay, right? We'll get through it. So,
unfortunately, our society doesn't encourage that kind of thinking.
That's true. That's true.
We become very attached to the outcome, competitor, and all of that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, though, that this newer generation has a little bit of a different take on things. Like if you look at the Greta Thunbergs and the Parkland kids, and, you know, I see it even in my own children who are adults now in their 30s, they're millennials. The spirit of cooperation is more than the spirit of competition, you know? So they are more about working together. And I think it's also because they've been brought up that way, that because of technology and everything, they know they don't have to have all the answers. They can Google it to get the answer. They're not saying, I'm just in this for me. They're saying, you know, I'm in this for everybody. You'll see that they post on social media, I'm having a hard time with this. What do you guys think I should do? Right? They're asking for advice. Whereas I think our generation was more stoic, like, well, we have to do it on our own. If we don't do it on our own, we're weak. But they're more about, let's come together and solve this as a community. Like my son got a house recently, and it's a fixer-upper, and there's so much trash and everything that needs to go out. He's just like, I'll just call my friends. They'll come over and help. And I'm like, really? You're going to ask your friends to come over and take out your trash? He goes, yeah, I do it for them. I'm like, that's really cool. That's really good. You've got good friends that would do that. I mean, I'd be like, I don't think I'm going to call my friends to do that for me. I'm too embarrassed. Like, I'm just going to do it myself, you know? But hey, I know if one of my friends called me, I'll be like, yeah, whatever you need. So why am I hesitant to ask?
Right.
You know? It's kind of a different mindset. And I'm hoping that this is more towards the way that we're going, you know?
Yes.
And the younger leaders like AOC and some of those other people, they have a more we mentality than a me mentality. And that's so important if we're to sustain this species throughout, you know, otherwise we're going to go by the way of the dinosaurs, because we're just going to kill each other off.
Right.
You know, and this divisiveness is the wrong way to go. We need to come together. And I love Bill Rotella's video that he just made. Did you guys see it already?
Yes, fabulous.
So powerful.
Yeah.
You know, the other side, you know, with the message that I take away from that is, what is the other side? Which side are we on? Or is our side the other side, or is their side the other side? What is it? There is no other side. There's no side. This is us. And if we don't figure it out pretty fast, we're doomed. We're just doomed. So that's my take on it. But it's never too late for us to start. You know, like Pablo Casals is like, we need to teach our children this. we need to learn this for ourselves first. We need to learn this, you know? And we are plagued by doubts and insecurities and, you know, questions and fear. Like, what's going to happen if blah, 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 you know? But the truth is that we are fine and perfect just the way we are. And it doesn't matter what is happening outside of us. If we can just connect to that self that is unchanging, then we know we're fine. We're good.
I agree, and I'm just making a pitch because next at noon, Bill Rotella will be with us at Center for Spiritual Living, Pleasant Valley. So I'm just making a pitch, and I love his new song.
Fabulous.
Yeah, and go ahead.
No, I'm pleased.
This has been amazing, and there are no coincidences, because what you are saying will be woven in also with the talk this Sunday at noon. And it just clear and beautiful, Lisa. I just am very, very grateful.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad that you pushed me to do this, because I think during this pandemic time we're all getting a little more into our cave, you know? And I'm like, should I give a class? Well, that means I have to put makeup on and do my hair. And do I really want to do that? So.
You know, it's more for me than that. I discovered I'm an introvert. No matter how many people think I'm social, I'm really not. And it gets to the point where friends I love, when I go to see them, I'm afraid. And I'm afraid because of the emotions, the overwhelming emotions, to be with someone that I haven't seen, or I just feel like I've been so isolated in my world. And it's an interesting uncomfortability that has created me not reaching out as much too. It's really interesting. And I know it's beyond me. I mean, as a minister especially, but
the truth is, we're all going through that. We're all going through that. It is uncomfortable. It is awkward. But I think if we hold on to the fact that we are all going through it, we're not in this alone, and that we see the divine in that other person, there's nothing to be afraid of. There's this vulnerability that comes out that's like, embraces the situation and the person and the fact that we're in this together, you know?
Oh my God, I got a major aha down from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet just now, in that one of the gifts of this is to get in touch with your vulnerability and to be open and receptive to doing courageous things from that point, which is courageous when you're feeling very, very vulnerable. Oh my gosh, Lisa, it was worth the price of admission.
Absolutely. It's, you know, and it's kind of like we can connect at a deeper level even, because we have this shared experience of, this is a very odd time in history, you know, and we're all going through it together. Why are we here now? Why did we choose this life in this time? Maybe this is why, you know, maybe everything that we've done in life has led us to this moment. And this is a turning point for all of us. It's pretty crucial. And maybe 100 years from now, I don't know if any of us will be here in 100 years from now, you know, maybe we'll be back again on our next round. But when historians look back at this time, what are they going to say about us? You know, what are they going to say? And I think they'll say that there was a lot of bravery, that, you know, the essential workers were brave in putting their lives on the line to help other people. I think they'll say that even people who just stayed at home were brave to change things up to protect other people, that other people were brave to come together and creative, to come together in creative ways like this Zoom to connect in a way that we haven't been able to before. You know, that things are always changing, but that this period of time, this 9 months or a year or whatever it's going to end up being, was a time of rapid change. Because we were forced to change. We had no option. You know, necessity is the mother of invention, right?
I know.
I think it's going to turn people, a lot of people, more towards God too, and more towards their own divinity, to say, you know what, I was never happy in that job anyway. And here I am at home and I'm forced to look at myself and look at my situation. Or, you know, you're stuck at home quarantined with this person that you never got along with anyway. And is it going to make or break the relationship? Because you got to figure it out. You know, you can't keep going like you were going before. It's like, make a decision. Are you going to be unhappy or are you going to be happy? What is it going to be? Whether that means staying together or breaking up. Either one could be the answer. I don't know. But you got to figure it out, you know?
Interesting. You must know people that are going through a relationship waking up.
Oh yeah, lots of people, you know. And I found that in many cases, it's brought people closer together. It's like, you know, we live together all this time, husband and wife, but how much time did we really spend together? You know, I'd be on my computer, he'd be on his computer, or he'd be at work, I'd be at my work. We're blah, 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 you know, passing the night. And now it's like, we're forced to look at each other and go, wait, okay, who are you now? Who are you? You know how you answer that question of who are you? By knowing who I am. Who am I?
You know,
I see, namaste, the divine in me sees the divine in you. How could there be anything wrong with the divine? If you can connect on that level of love that's beyond the physical, God, you can live with anybody.
Lisa, I have to say goodbye because I have to go over, and I just love you. This has been, out of all of the Zoom anything, this has meant more to me than anything.
Oh,
and
thank you.
Really and truly. But I have to go to get ready for Sunday.
Yes,
yeah,
you have your
but
service.
I love you. Yeah, and
I love you very much.
And ditto, and I'll talk to you very, very soon. And please let us know how we get this on your YouTube channel or whatever, what you've just said.
I'll figure it out. I know it's recording, but I don't know how to put the recording on YouTube, but I'll figure it out.
Marcia knows how. Contact Marcia. She knows how.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
So does anybody else have any questions before we wrap it up? I see Sherm there. You have any questions, Sherm or Yvonne?
Nope. I do.
Oh, Pamela has a question.
Yeah, so we're all going through all of this, and it's a challenging time too. You know, there's the isolation, and there's all the things that are happening in our world. And so I really believe that each and every one of us here on this call, and each and every one of us on the planet, you know, our beings chose to be here now. And we are those of us who are here, we can call it whatever, but you know, we're light workers, and so we're here to stand for what's good, what's possible, for the dominance of spirit rather than many other things it could be. So I'm absolutely convinced of this. But the thing that it's like this is in the realm of what is there to do. There's so much happening or happening to and not in favor of the climate, our Mother Earth. You know, it's like we need to pay attention. We need to stop doing all these things that are putting carbon in and all this other stuff in the air. And if we as mankind, not just the seven of us here, if we don't, you know, who knows if life will be sustainable. So, you know, I like the idea of 100 years out, but it's like, I believe we need to take action. We need to stand up and be counted.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the fact that you have that inclination to take action means that you should. So don't ignore it. You know, anytime we have that little urge, you know, oh, I should do that. Don't just push it off the back of your mind, say, no, I'm too busy or whatever. That's God telling you, get out there.
Right.
You know, this is a little job I'm giving you. You know, answer the call, whatever it is. Like Bill had that instinct to make that music video, which I think says so much. That's like one of the best ways he can help, because he's using his talents, you know, that nobody can do it like he can do it, right? So there's things that you can do that nobody else can do. So whatever it takes, we each have to do our bit, however we're called to act. And there's so many things going on right now that, yeah, maybe for some people it's climate change, maybe for some people it's healthcare, maybe for some people it's education. You know, there's a lot of ground to cover. There's never a lack of jobs or duties for us to do.
You know, it's like whatever calls to you, Lisa, as you said. It's like, oh, that's a little tap on your shoulder and saying, are you here? You know, is your higher self going to respond and do something? And it may be a little thing. You know, I mean, like I, you know, put my signature on a bunch of postcards to go out to remind people to vote. Well, you know what? It's like that's doing something.
Exactly.
And it's something for the greater good.
Exactly. And that's part of the cooperation instead of competition. It's part of, as we grow spiritually, one marker that you can say, how far have I grown spiritually, is how far have you gone from being selfish to being selfless, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you have a meal, are you willing to share whatever you want to call that meal, you know? A paycheck, a home, a closet full of clothes. Share, be selfless about it. My thing now is, Jane Fonda said she's never going to buy clothes again. She's got closets full of clothes. Why does she have more clothes? It's going to help the landfills and everything if she doesn't buy more clothes, because more clothes are than anything else are in the landfills, you know? So I'm like, I can do that. I got a closet full of clothes. I'm just not going to buy. I wouldn't say like forever. I'll say for 1 year. This is my vow. For 1 year, I'm not going to buy any clothes. So I'm gonna do that. So let's see how that goes.
Hey, Lisa, I wanted to just jump in because one of the things I do, every time I see a piece of plastic or a plastic wrapper on the ground, I pick it up. And then, you know, I go analytically, well, you know, how's that going to change the environment? Well, I don't need to look at that. I just need to go, I'm doing what I can to help this environment.
Yeah,
that's right.
Feel better about myself.
That's right.
So I think that's the way to go forward. And the other thing, if you could post the Zoom link for that 100-year Zoom call that we're going to do in 100 years, so I can tune in.
We'll check in. That sounds good.
that's great.
Okay, everybody.
To get on the church call. So good.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to let you go because I know church is going to be starting at noon and you guys got to get ready. So thank you all so much and come back next month. I'll post the link again.
Yes.
Thanks,
Yes.
Lisa.
So great to
Okay.
see you.
Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Bye.